Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show, where we celebrate the innovators driving change in the education industry. At Edison OS, we've worked with over 500 knowledge entrepreneurs to turn their edtech ideas into profitable businesses. Hi, Vamsi. A formal welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot
Thank
for
you. Thank you so much for taking your time out and joining this on a Sunday evening. I know how super occupied you are. So, yeah.
yeah. I'm glad that I'm on the show. I've been hearing a lot about the show, and I've also have gone through the previous episodes of yours. I think this will be fun. Let's do it.
Okay, Vamsi, great. So, Vamsi, just for the sake of the listeners, I'm sure you know why we are doing this podcast and everything. But still, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what this podcast is, why are we doing it, and why are you here, basically. So, this is the Knowledge Entrepreneur Show. This podcast is called as the Knowledge Entrepreneur Show. So, what is the Knowledge Entrepreneur Show? Basically, we are looking to talk to people who are, entrepreneurs in the knowledge domain.
Right.
Reason being, Edison OS is a education online platform for teachers, trainers, academies. And when we do podcast with people who are in the knowledge industry, uh, there are a lot of information on the internet about what to do, how to do, and stuff like that. But talking to people who've been there, who've done that, conversing with them, talking about that brings out a lot of these information that may not be available out there in a formal structured way, and these information, these exchanges will not only positively give them information, okay, this is what I need to start, but this can also help people come to a conclusion whether this is for them or not. They can also save themselves from not entering into it after getting to know the reality. So that is also a value. It need not always have to be positive somebody. So that's the thing. And so why is Vamsi here? Vamsi is not your typical knowledge entrepreneur, as in, he doesn't run an academy or something like that. But yeah, indirectly he did, because okay, before talking about what Vamsi did, what Vamsi is today is, Vamsi is one of the most you know uh, I mean, I don't know, but people that I talk to, they consider Vamsi as one of the top software developers in India that they have worked with. And he's based in Andhra Pradesh, and he's going to be moving to Hyderabad soon. And he's a computer science graduate. That's about it. I don't think he's done any fancy degree and all those things. And so this is what he is. But then he's building a lot of products. But why is Vamsi here then? If he's just a developer, he did something called as Keats. Keats is also one of the many products that he built, but he built it for himself, not for somebody else. So Keats happens to be a platform similar to Duolingo. Duolingo is for languages. Keats is for programming. So he's also been an educator, and it's the journey is still on. Probably at this point, it's just paused. I think he's going to revive it, but we're going to talk to Vamsi and find out all of these information in this podcast. So hopefully, people who are aspiring to become entrepreneurs in the knowledge space, I think you're going to have a lot of value in this podcast. So with that, I will get to Vamsi. Vamsi, we can start this on a very informal way, personal way. Why? Because personal connection is very important for people to be able to relate initially. So
Right.
I'm going to start off by asking, please share anything that you would like to, because everything is a reason for who you are today. So yeah, open to you, on to you, Vamsi.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Jack, for the introduction. So let me talk about myself first. I've been in the software space for the last 5.5 years, and just to tell a brief about myself, I run this company called Caravel. Caravel is a company that we are into producing software products, and we kind of engineer large scale, massive systems, right from systems that can scale from tens to thousands to millions of users. That's what we do at the company. And talking about my relationship to the academia was extremely close because I did my bachelor's and I'm a state awardee, gold medal awardee from the government for my degree computer science. And it's been a fantastic journey for 4 years. That's the most important piece of my life, I would say. The 4 years of extremely enthusiastic to learn a lot of stuff about computer science. It was out of the pure love what I've done, and I had this passion for programming for a very long time since my eighth standard. So I've been doing that. very often, and it's been quite a journey for me. And after my bachelor's, that obsession became kind of it went beyond obsession. It went beyond obsession, and I was in a state where, okay, let me do something. And honestly speaking, you have put it in a very nice way of taking it to myself. Certain things, the decisions that when you try to create some decisions are something that you do it with your intuition, right? You fundamentally don't think about anything with respect to the data or the market, because business you need to think from various perspectives. But sometimes you have a gut feeling and your intuition pushes you to do something, and that's where you kind of start doing many things in life. So again, back to the story. I graduated in 2017, and it was I came out of the college and I wanted to do something. I had crazy offers on my plate. In France, I had an offer. In India, I have offers from big companies. But there was a feeling that, okay, I wanted to do something, and this needs to be big. And the really important thing that happened to me that time, just before my bachelor's, is I was this author for this book called Python Programming: A Modern Approach, which is published with Pearson Education. And that kind of have eaten me up, because the writing process was almost for 2 years time, because I wrote this small book called PyQuick, which became a crazy hit, where this was distributed in a bunch of colleges where I used to visit for seminars and things like that. And this became a huge,
Sorry to interrupt. You
yeah,
did you say you wrote this book before your bachelor's?
yeah,
Wow. Okay. Sorry.
right. So, and again, the origin story of Python programming and modern approach is this book, the initial book that I've written. That's a 40-pager Python book, a very tiny book, where I used to visit a lot of colleges and teach about Python, because in the states of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Python was extremely it was a language that is parked aside. People used to talk about different other languages, like if the audience know about C, C++, Java, the standard classic languages. But Python was pretty new to the Indian space. So that's where we started evangelizing a lot about Python, and I wrote this book called PyQuick, which became a good thing. And then later on, Pearson approached me, and I published with Pearson. So again, coming back to this story of Keats, uh, we started out of extreme passion towards programming, right? And maybe I'll put it this way: I started out with my own selfishness of, okay, I need to do something, and what do I know the best? I know programming the best way possible, and then we started it out. So that's how the Kids journey started. And yeah, it's been a ride when we started out. And on the other hand, we were doing consulting projects to make sure that the company is living. And this is something that we pulled it as a product, a B2C product at that time.
Got it. Great, Vamsi. Thank you. I'm gonna go back a little bit because thanks for sharing. That wasn't even a specific question, so thank you for talking a bunch of things because I have a lot of questions from this. So one thing, what I was interested is how your childhood was because you touched upon that a little bit. You said eighth standard was the time when you started getting interested in programming, right? So I mean, the reason I'll before I ask question, if I can, I will try and articulate the reason behind asking you the question. Sorry, asking you the question because I think that is a very important thing. The reason I'm asking is two things. If there are people listening and if they can find certain pattern or certain logical thing that can be modeled, that is one reason. Another reason is this is also, I'm assuming, hoping a lot of educators are watching this. And I think as educators, it is very important to know what ticks a student, what drives a student and interests and stuff like that. That's the reason I'm asking. So, eighth standard, what exactly, how did you get interested into programming? Like, what triggered you?
Right. So I would say, it mostly came from my parents. My dad is a professor of computer science,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I was surrounded with a bunch of computers. We started using computers when there are CRT monitors. Big, huge
Yes.
CRT monitors,
Yes.
and the CPU used to be a size of a tiny kid.
Right.
That size CPUs, and we were always obsessed about these blue screens wherever we used to see these blue screens, because that's the loading part that comes in, and it's all that. Uh, Technology for me is probably, everybody who was born in the 90s will relate to this, was kind of fascination, right?
Yeah.
Because there is a constant exponential growth in terms of the technology space. So I was always surrounded by these things, and probably, that might be the reason which drove me. And that also is something, when people look at you sitting before the computer, you're something to them, right? That gives you a lot of this person is good at computers and things like that. But more than that, I am pretty much interested in early math of my life. I was doing a lot of math at that time, and at one point I started, math became too much for me. And one thing that I could replace with is programming. So when in my school, when QBasic was the first programming language that I was introduced to. When that was there, it interested me a lot in terms of doing some bunch of instructions, and that drove me into the field of programming.
Okay. Okay. One reason is your father himself was a professor of computer science, but not seeing somebody who was a software engineer, who was in the US, who was earning a
No,
lot. Was
no, it
that
is not like that. In
no?
even in there was not any formal education that I've gone through. Even there were not many times where I interacted with my dad. It was just looking and seeing things. There was no teaching per se that went into the system. It was pure surrounding myself with them and seeing
Okay.
a lot of people around me. That's what intrigued me.
Okay. So that triggered in eighth standard, and then before even completing bachelor's, you say that you wrote a book. That means you must have gotten yourself involved in computers a lot from eighth standard itself, which is
Right,
what must have driven you to take computer science as a bachelor's degree also.
right.
So, was there any guidance for you from your father through this period from eighth to your engineering, or it was just you just went behind your interests and whatever piqued your curiosity?
I was a very curious kid from from a very younger age. So I
Okay.
always kind of used to read the books that are classic in nature. For example, in my intermediate, the plus one, plus two, I used to read something in that's there in BSc.
Hmm.
Not that I wanted to do something. I used to read a lot of Richard Feynman classics, lectures of computation or something that sorts. I used to read a lot of other books in the field of that field of science. So when I grad after my plus two, I joined the college, and after joining the college, I know that I wanted to do something in the field of programming, but I wasn't able to do that. And first year, I started programming aggressively. I used to do something that's there in my fourth year. And I started doing that. At one point, I hit a threshold where I said, okay, this is not enough for me. And then my journey from there started of visiting a lot of conferences. I used to be in Bangalore for almost 4 months. Yeah, during the 4 month period, which starts right from October season, the conferences start in Bangalore. You have programming languages conferences, being done at those places, and I used to be there in Bangalore almost for 15-20 days in that zone. So that drove me a lot, and I used to meet the best folks. I've met Brad Fitzpatrick, who is the one who created a bunch of sticks at Google. Robert Wording, who is the creator of a programming language called Erlang. So I started to, increase my network and talking to people. That intrigued me a lot. And by the time I came down to my second, third years, I was in a zone where, okay, I, I, I know a bunch of things. And now that I used to visit these conferences, there is this organization which apparently got diluted. Today it's called PSSI, Python Software Society of India. I was part of PSSI, and PSSI after that, they used to organize something called user groups. So user group is a concept where you started in a place, you ask a bunch of people to come together, and you start evangelizing the programming language Python for better grade group. That's what we used to do. And I organized this group called APPYUG, Andhra Pradesh Python Users Group, where we conducted a lot of sessions. Apparently, in the entire state, this was the only user group at that time.
Okay.
So we were invited, we are a bunch of four friends who started this out, where I used to lead a lot of things. And, a lot of colleges used to call us for asking us to, give seminars and things like that. Because a lot of these companies like TCS, Wipro, and the big MNCs in India used to have Java as the core at that time. But
Hmm.
they started taking a transition into Python,
Okay.
right? During the 2015s, 2016s or so. So when this transition was happening, the academia doesn't contain Python as their standard curriculum,
Hmm.
right? And now that we know something about Python and we were starting to evangelize these things, a lot of institutions wanted to come there and teach them Python to their students because they need a placement trajectory, you know,
Right.
for
Right.
colleges. So there is a a direction to it where the colleges want us badly, and that's where I have taught almost 12,000 people, going to
Hmm.
colleges. We I think I almost visited close to, yeah, I think 15 20 colleges, where
Okay.
there are about, the crowd is about 1,000 or so, 1,000 sometimes, 500 sometimes also, so multiple times. So this is in the state of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, both the states, both the Telugu states, where we used to go there. We used to sit for the whole day, teach them in the first half and make them code in the second half, and this used to run for 2 days.
Okay.
So that made me write a book for them, because there were a bunch of questions. People used to come there and ask
Right.
me questions. Which book do I, have to refer and things like that. I used to read a lot of books. That is something that I used it for my teaching material. But eventually, what I felt was, okay, there needs to be a tiny thing, because
Hmm.
I'm going on a 2 day workshop to their institution, and it required some kind of an additional resource for me to give them.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's where I wrote this thing called PyQuick. So it's like quick Python, right? PyQuick.
Right.
And later, this became a huge thing, and it was open source. A lot of people from other companies started to work on it, give me advices, suggestions on my writing. Open
Okay.
source is all about contributions, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
appreciate, and they give, sometimes the feedback is hard, sometimes there is a constructive feedback, but you get to improve your content and material. And
Right.
that's where my journey towards other stuff started, writing a full length book.
Great. Okay. So, Vamsi, couple of things. When you said that, when you were in your first year of graduation, you started solving problems that were given to the fourth year.
Right.
Now, this was because you knew all the things that was in the curriculum in the first 3 years. Is it you had already finished all these things, or you thought, okay, or was it that no, 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 no matter what, I need to straight away approach the fourth year things so that your mindset is changed? Is it something to do with your mindset? You forced yourself into it, or you thought you really know, I know all these things, so I'm going to do fourth year stuff?
See, let me tell you a very nice story around this. I was a curious kid. It's not pushing myself.
Okay.
There were times where I used to if I'm not interested in something,
Hmm.
I'll just close the book and sleep.
Okay.
And morning I'll not be even able to pick that up. But there
Okay.
are there are times with programming or uh, coding per se. The idea was I never got exhausted doing it for
Hmm.
long hours. I never felt exhausted,
Right.
even though it was, it was out of pure love,
Your love.
love
Yeah.
for programming and things like that. It was curiosity, definitely, for sure, but I never got exhausted. There are times where I've coded for 36 hours.
Wow.
Apparently, I had some sleep in the middle, but that was the kind of stretch that I used to have. So I
Got it.
never got exhausted. That's one. And I was a curious kid. It was never pushing myself to get into that zone and things like that.
Got
It
my answer.
automatically, my brain started loving it, and it will start picking you up.
No, no, I got your answer. Amazing. And when you said, you taught 12,000, 15,000 kids in different colleges, students in different. So was this like what, a volunteering activity, or was it a paid activity? What was it?
Uh, it was a paid activity. Of course,
Okay.
we had to fund
While
our.
you were a student
Yes.
and you represented PSSI while doing this.
Yeah, it was kind of not representing PSSI. PSSI used to promote these activities.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So this is a organization. There is this excellent organization called Bagpipers.
Okay.
Bangalore Python users group is Bagpipers.
Uh,
So that's where we got connected to a bunch of very interesting folks in
okay.
that domain, and where they used to help me a lot, and that's
Okay.
how we started evangelizing the language.
Great. Okay. So, as a teacher, I mean, forget that you were a student then and all those things. What you do is what counts, right? Actions are the ones that really define somebody. So, you started teaching, and you started teaching for money, and that led you to write a book also. And then you spoke something about open source. Correct me if I'm wrong. Open source, as far as I have heard, is say for example something, openai.com today is like an open
Right,
source artificial
right,
intelligence stuff, right? So that is sort of a tool, is what they call as open source. But you only
right.
wrote a book, or was PyQuick something, some tool or something like that? What's it?
Okay, so open source is very simple. Open source is where you have everything on the internet for free of cost,
Okay.
without any commercial, liability on it. As
Oh, fine, fine. Generally
and,
open source
and
is what it means. Got it.
correct. And
Okay.
OpenAI is not an open company. That's a controversial thing that's going on to Twitter, that OpenAI is not equal to. It
Ah,
was intended to be an open source company, but
okay,
it's a completely closed company right now. But the name
okay.
of the company, the goal of the company was established in a way to open source all the work that they've been doing.
Okay, fine. So my confusion here was that open source means some technology, the codes behind that particular tool, if it is out there in the internet, that's what is called as open source.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Tesla's stuff are also on open
So
source,
just to
right?
give you a very nice example around open source, Linux, the Android phones that you're
Linux, yeah,
using,
yeah,
is
yeah.
completely built on the internet. It's open.
Ha,
Every single day, this creator called Linus Torvalds, he he writes code. He publishes it onto the internet.
right. And it need not be free of cost, is it? Open source need not be free of cost.
It is free of cost.
I mean,
It's
for the guy
totally
who does the work, does he get paid?
no, it's all from the funding or the contributions that he gets.
Ha, somebody funds these
Linus
things.
Torvalds is probably has his foundation called Linux, but there is no commercial value in it. Open source doesn't.
Got it. They are not for profit.
It has value in it if you are trying to go into a direction where you start an open source company. But if it's an open source project, then things are different.
Okay, fine. Got it. But a lot of things. I don't want to,
Yeah,
digress
yeah,
this whole
yeah.
topic. Yeah. So, but thanks. Yeah, I got an understanding. Great. So now coming back, you finished your. You stopped teaching after that, after publishing the book.
Yeah. So see, the reason again, I just wanted to talk about something that's very interesting.
Okay.
I never thought I'll be a great teacher.
Okay.
The idea, the interest was, in languages, as I told you, for a very long time. And my first seminar, the first seminar that I was about to give at that time, is within my college. Because
Ah,
I asked permission from my HOD, the head of the department, and I asked her, "Can I do this?" She said, "Okay, fine. You can take a break for. I'll make sure that the classes are not happening in the evening session, and you can pick the session up." And there are about 60 attendees, where I had to teach from 2 in the afternoon until 5.
three
It was a
hours.
three hours straight session. And almost, yeah, as I told you, somewhere around 50, 60 odd people came into that session. And it was very interesting that day where I started teaching them.
Mm,
And my focus was more on to teaching, telling them, looking at my presentation slides and things like that. And after 5-10 minutes, I understood that the crowd is not serious with me. The most of the
mm.
crowd that's there and then the group were kind of doing their own stuff, because the age group, right? When you're
Right.
growing,
Right.
they're doing their own stuff, and I felt like, okay, I need to focus more on the crowd rather than on my slides or my
Mm,
voice and things like that. And then I started looking at the crowd, observing them, and changing the direction of my teaching into a more interactive way,
mm.
right? And I was still not satisfied, because still most of the crowd is not listening to me.
Okay.
But one thing that drove me that day is six people, or yeah, 6-7 people that day, I still remember those names and faces, were having a little smile on their face.
Right.
They're really enjoying what I'm teaching.
Right.
That drove me for the next 2.5 hours. That
Mm,
actually, those were the folks who drove me in saying that, okay, this is really cool. And those
mm,
were the 6 people exactly. I know those 6 people. After the session is done, they came out to meet me and they said, "This is excellent. We wanted to learn more about it. Let me know where do we have to go."
mm.
So, most of the crowd at that time was busy with all sorts of their own stuff. And, that how students, I as a student also, if something is boring, we kind of get into something that's irrelevant. We
Right.
do all sorts of things there. So, yeah, that actually have given me more confidence that I'll be able to teach. And teaching needs to be more, how do I put that, narrowed down, and you should really see that what's working best for the crowd rather than keeping it to yourself.
Got it. And which year were you in when you did this seminar? First one?
Second year.
Second year. Okay. A quick question. Now, was this seminar requested by people who knew that you were good in something, or was it, a voluntary thing that you did, or did you have a agenda behind it?
No, I did it voluntarily because I just really wanted to. No, I was
Interesting.
visiting these conferences. I was visiting these
Okay.
conferences, and I really wanted to talk about something. And of
Uh-huh.
course, my friends were talking about where are you going, what are you doing, and all sorts of stuff.
Hmm.
I really wanted to show something that is cool,
Hmm.
something. If something cool comes into the market, you wanted to show it to your friends, right?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
how it started. I approached my HOD, where
Hmm.
I told them, this is something that I've been learning a lot about. So let me know if I can give you a seminar. And as I told you, that trajectory started already,
Right.
saying that the Python is coming into the market. So they were pretty interested. Somebody who's in our organization wants to teach, for nothing, for free of cost. Why do you have to say no? And they said immediately said yes.
So you did this out of a genuine intention of sharing something with your fellow
Exactly,
people. That's
exactly.
about it. Nothing else. No
Yeah,
agenda
yeah.
behind this.
No agenda behind it.
It was you. You didn't treat that as okay. You know what? I'm gonna kind of start my practice here in the future. I'm gonna become this because you said you went to conferences and you
Right.
must have had some sort of inspirations or something. You might have liked somebody and you wanted to replicate them or something. Nothing like that. You just wanted to. You just pick something. You just wanted to come and share it. That's about it.
Yeah.
Okay. But did you tell your folks about these conferences? Did you pay to attend those conferences?
Yeah, yeah, we pay. Sometimes,
Ah,
it's a huge pay as well.
so you paid
Uh,
that out of your own pocket,
yeah.
out of your own interest. And how did you get to know about these conferences?
Lot from the internet,
Okay. Because you
because
were in those communities, and that's how you
correct,
get to know these people are
correct,
coming here.
correct, correct.
Okay, okay, okay. Brilliant. Got it. Okay, Vamsi, great. I thought I had other thoughts. That's the reason I asked you these questions. It might have come across pretty basic or silly or whatever. Okay, now you said you had some lucrative, attractive offers, crazy offers, right? Now, just curiosity. Can you put some numbers to this? You don't have to say the name of the company if you don't want to. Simply, just to say the numbers so that you left this much, and just to get that idea.
So offers will range from 40 LPA to 70 LPA.
This was when you were just
2017.
21,
2017.
2017, when you were like just out of college.
Yeah.
Great. And did you discuss about this with your parents before rejecting them or moving on to do whatever you wanted to do?
They were clear in terms of whatever I wanted to do.
Hmm.
I have put it, straight, saying that this is what I like, love about my work, and they told me that okay, do whatever you wish, and from a very typical perspective, the society's perspective, they also asked me, do you want to get into some kind of a masters and things like that. But
Hmm.
fortunately, the company picked up, and where I had to leave it there, the masters thing. But
Okay. So you
it
did
was
enroll yourself into some master's program.
I did not. That's a long story. I'll
Okay.
probably talk about it later. But yeah, there was nothing kind of a no from my parents.
Mm.
It
It
was
was your
pretty much
choice.
supportive. Yeah, it was my choice, and I told them. They said yes.
Great. Okay. So, just
And these were the offers, outside India at that time, where I had to fly down to France. From France is one offer and things like that. So it was kind of in India also I had an offer, but yeah, the highest amount is from the other country.
okay, got it. I'm going to ask a lot more about this. I mean, not about the numbers and stuff like that, but some of the questions. But then before that, I just want to quickly come to the present day. Now, 2017, today we are in 2023, 5, 6 years down the line. Now, you know that people also work in big companies and then they come out saying that X some company, and then, they kind of have this image about themselves and then they go to build on stuff, right? Um, Having spent 5, 6 years on your own without having any experience in any of the big companies, when you look back, do you think it would have helped you, not financially, it would have helped you from some other way if you could have worked for 1, 2 years?
Definitely, I would say yes.
um,
Because in life, something that I wanted at every point in my life is some kind of a mentorship. The right
mm,
mentor can drive you in the right path. Right? Working
mm,
in a company might really help me a lot, but I would have missed the challenges here. There are pros and cons of every decision that we make
right,
in life.
right, right.
So something I would have really loved to do it if the opportunity was something that I would have liked at that time. But again,
Hmm.
it's all destiny and the thing that
Yeah,
I've just chosen.
yeah, no
But yeah,
point.
definitely say yes. If I would
Yes.
have gone to another company, I would have learned a lot, given the right mentorship.
Got it. No, thank you for being honest about this, because, going back and saying, yes, I could have done that is not easy. The reason I asked you was just others get an idea as to, what can happen if you work and then do what can happen. You said there are pros and cons to both. So having worked could have got you a good mentor, but then you would have missed out on the challenges that you solved yourself. So
Correct.
yeah, I think it boils down to what they want to choose. Now, coming back to, not taking up those offers that you got and then going on to start a company. Now, just because you're talented, you're intelligent, whatever it is, business is different. Having intelligence and
Correct.
talent about expertise about some topic is different. How did you convert that expertise you had into a monetarily profitable venture? What were the gaps, or what was your journey till you got there?
Right. So initially it was hard, in terms of making connections. The biggest thing in the entrepreneurial journey, especially when you're into the services business, the consulting business, you need to meet a lot of people, because in the initial days, we apparently, the first project was quick.
Hmm,
That made us survive for almost 6 7 months, and then later we were talking with all sorts of people in the domain industry market, and trying to connect with a lot of people and things like that. But yeah, it was kind of meeting a lot of people when you start that entrepreneurial journey. It was meeting a lot of people, but initially I never had this mindset of, okay, we'll have to meet a lot of people and things like that. We were in a mindset where, okay, let's start a company, let's make some money. That's the initial thought that everybody will have as an entrepreneur, right?
hmm, hmm,
But
hmm.
you will not look at the big picture, what happens. You always see this image of what's under the water, if there is a huge mountain, and what's about. So there are a lot of things that goes into building an empire, and being an entrepreneur. But initially, honestly speaking, there were zero thoughts. All I know is I know that I have a skill set with me, that
Hmm.
I'll be able to program websites, web applications, mobile applications, and things like that. So I thought I'll just convert this skill into a monetary value. That was it. The initial thought was it, not more than that.
Okay. So, what was your first project and how exactly you got it? You got it from a referral? Was it very easy? What was it?
Yeah, first I think it became a bit easier for us because we worked with the governments, where we were trying to build applications for the government. And it was, again, they have their own cons in terms of the monetary value and things like that, because you have
Right,
little. So we got it through a via referral, and
right,
we produced that application into the market,
right.
and we built it. Then we made some money
Great. And the book that you wrote,
there.
did that help you? Did that act as a source of credit for you when you went outside asking for projects?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say yes, because a lot of people know you by the name of the book, and you're an author, and you have already an established name, right? So
Right.
it became easier for me to get into conversations, quick conversations. How do you portray yourself or project yourself to other people, right? You write a book, and this is what you wanted to do. You talk about all the stuff that you know about. It becomes easier. So definitely, I'll say that helped me a lot.
Got it. So, first project you said it was a referral, it was easy and all those things. So, what after that? What happened after that?
Okay, so that was an interesting thing where we had to wait for a very, very long time, and I
Okay.
almost networked with 300 people,
Okay.
uh, 300, people odd,
Okay.
out of which I think there were only two conversions.
Okay.
Uh, so all
When
the
you
other
say networked, okay, networking is one thing, because interestingly you also said you converted two after the 350 300 networks, right? So do
right.
you mean to say they were one-on-one meetings, like
Yeah, it was these are one-on-one meetings, where we used to go into. Sometimes it was gatherings where the tech folks come in.
right?
Sometimes it was more into phone calls, referrals, and things like that.
Mm,
So initially, there are two kinds, right? One where they approach you, where you have a inbound,
right.
where the client approaches you saying that, hey, I have XYZ problems. Can you solve this for me?
Mm,
The other way is, calling them, cold calling them and asking for, hey, do you want this XYZ to be done for you? I'm here for you. So the second half is very hard. The first
right.
half is easy.
Right.
Getting inbounds and working on it is easy.
Hmm.
But now that we don't know what domain to work on, because this is a wide spectrum, right? We can, now that you are good at building something, you can build websites, web applications, and um, you know mobile applications and all that stuff. It's really hard for you to pick up a specific domain.
Mm.
So I can go into something sort of an e-commerce or education or finance or any such domain, because these are the common areas, right? You can build applications in any specific domain. So it was hard to narrow down which domain do we want to work for. And every entrepreneur will keep saying this: how do we say no to a lot of things,
Mm.
right? So in the initial days, it was hard to kind of layer yourself a lot, like an onion. You have all the things in the middle.
Right.
So you kind of, you'll have to layer yourself, saying that, okay, reject this, say yes to that, say no to this. And it was kind of that journey.
Mm.
So when I said 350 to 2 conversion, so it was more on to, we getting to know them, calling them, asking for a meeting, giving our showing our pitch deck presentation of what we have done so far, and then trying to get something onto the table.
Okay. When you say you getting to know them, that means you discovering them, finding them. Okay, like a list building activity is what you're talking
Yeah,
about when you
yeah.
say.
It was a list building activity.
Okay. And how do you know these people might have a requirement?
Okay, so these guys used to come and talk about their products, and these guys are pretty
Mm.
much startups. And you know how startups works. Always startup, they try to kind of give it out to a other consulting partner or a service provider who can
Right.
get this done for you.
Right.
And probably mid-level companies is too early at that time. So it was mostly startups that we reached out to, asking for, because startups wants to scale faster, and
Right.
scaling faster requires a lot of pace in terms of what you build.
Right.
So that pace comes with some money and giving it out to a service provider. So that's how the initial ideation was there. Apparently, that changed later after a very long time.
Okay.
But yeah, the initial setup, the idea was, okay, call these folks, the startup folks, and then trying to reach out to them in terms of getting to know them and what is the requirement they have and things like that. Most of the people, out of 350, I would say 60% of the people really had a requirement,
Right.
but the financial constraints would have stopped them to do that.
Mm. And the calling part, right? When you said you had a business development team to do that.
No, it was only two fellows who started off the company, myself and my friend,
Okay.
including my brother at that time. Only
Okay.
three people on the company. The company itself is three people.
Right.
So I used to do everything.
So the three of you would do cold calling and all those
So I
things.
used to do the cold calling. The other
Okay.
one does the coding and all that stuff.
Okay.
And Vihar was also, my brother was also part of the team, and he used to help me out after his college hours. So that was it. That was the team.
Okay. So, okay, cold calling and all those things is sales, right? I've done some sales and I know the challenges that lie in cold calling and
Correct.
following that whole process before you can get. So, did you have those skills naturally, or you realized, oh man, if I'm an entrepreneur, I need to know sales to start off? And then how did you pick it on the go?
No, I did pick it on the go. It was learning right from day one. The initial calls were easier
Right.
because you always have a had a referral. I had a referral that time, and I
Mm,
used to talk about that referral, saying that, okay, you know, XYZ gave me a number, and I know that you have a requirement here. Can you talk more about it and things like that? If they're interested, they get to know more about you. But if they're not interested, sometimes they'll be like, can you drop an email? Probably I'll get back to you and things like that. So it was more on to calling and emailing at that time.
okay. And you followed the entire process that you set for yourself, following up everything.
Yeah. But
Great.
I know for a fact that something that I knew at that time is, if somebody is coming back to you within a week's time, it's a win-win situation that you're trying to create.
So, closest
Otherwise,
to a sale.
yeah. But later, what we realized is that after 1.5 years,
Okay.
uh, when we reached out to a lot of people, right, and they started reaching us, saying that, hey, I have this
Hmm.
requirement, can you do this for me? But if you want something to be done in a quicker way, you want that project in the next 2 to 3 months, they would respond to you in 1 week's time.
1 week's time. Right. Great. So these two conversions that you said, these were the second and the third after the first easy referral thing.
I didn't get your question. Can you repeat that?
You said you got two conversions out of the 350 calls on
Correct.
networking that you did, right?
Correct.
This was second and third projects respectively after the first government
Correct.
project.
Exactly.
Okay, fine. And okay, now little bit going, backtracking. At this point, how much time had passed your first project, second and third by the time you got these three projects since you
Uh,
started roughly?
okay. So I think it took us almost a year and a half to get the second and third project. Not exactly year and a half. I'll say 1 year, 2 months.
Great. The question I wanted to ask was, in these 1 year, 2 months, was there any instance when you thought, oh, should I have taken those offers?
Uh, I don't know. This is a very interesting thought that you've put in my head right now. I know that I was going through a rough ride. There were pain points where we also, again, we hired two more folks at that time, including three of us plus two. There were hard times where I was constantly thinking about what do I have to do next. I never have thought through that, okay, I would have taken that offer. I never had that thought,
Mm,
interestingly.
mm, mm, mm.
But I was in a constant mode of, you know, resonating with all the things that are happening in my life and trying to understand, okay, what's wrong, what's something that we are doing it a bad way, how can we make this better, how do we make sure that we save some money, not wasting it at this point in time, how do we build up that little frugality in the system, how can we, what's our survival rate, what's the run rate that we have. So these were the thoughts in my head rather than talking about the offers. But it was hard, thinking about which, you had to call. There were times where I had to call about 20 people in a day, and 20
Right.
people in a day is extremely hard. You can't even imagine. 20 might look like a small number, but you're exhausted after the first call. Your entire state of thinking goes off. If
Yeah.
somebody is
Yeah.
not responding to you the way you want them to respond,
Yes.
you go into a negative zone.
Yes.
You have kind of, you're pissed off in life, right?
Right.
uh, why do I have to do this? That's the question. It was not kind of going back or picking those offers. I would have had the, if I were about to think in that direction, I would have had the other way around, saying that, okay, I would have taken this route.
Hmm.
But I never had that thought of, okay, going back and picking that job.
Okay. I mean, the thinking behind that question was, uh, not exactly going and taking the job back, but then realizing how hard the entrepreneurial journey can be, apart from the skills that you might have, getting business, right? That is where I wanted to, come and ask you that question. Because, oh, you know what? I could have, at least somebody else is getting the business. I could have put my skills to use. From that point of view, is what I tried to ask. And at any point in this 1 year, 2 months, right, when you were dry, no projects, did you have to borrow money to sustain? Although
uh,
you just had three people team, but still,
I did borrow at one point. I did borrow. I think
okay,
only during the entire entrepreneur journey I did it once.
okay,
Uh, Fortunately, I was able to repay them back in 3 months.
okay,
Not even 3 months. I think 2.5 months, to be more
okay,
precise.
great.
And I did that because we had to pay salaries to the new
Mm,
interns that who came
mm,
up to the organization.
mm,
And the other half where I was doing some consulting myself alone with other companies directly.
mm,
It's not like a project where I had to run their team and things like that. It's me as an individual going and getting the contribution done, and
okay,
where I used to put my money into the organization, the company, and then starting to utilize those.
got it. And from what I know, it's mostly, the way you said you started off. You started off with another co-founder. Was it a co-founder or was it just a friend who joined you as an employee?
Yeah, so it was, see, we never had the idea of co-founders, founders, or
Mm,
any sort of these fancy words,
titles, right,
titles. I don't know why. Even in the initial days, I used to hate myself calling a CEO.
right,
I did that after 3.5 years. I think in the during pandemic, I know that, okay, this is time for me. I know certain set of managerial skills for me to call myself as a CEO. I would rather at that time I used to call myself more as a CTO, a chief technology officer, because I used to do a lot of things.
right, right,
But CEO seems to be a kind of a extremely overrated term for me at that time.
right.
But it was kind of just a bunch of friends trying to build an organization. So we said, okay, uh, let's try to build something up. No additional motive or agenda,
Right.
uh, but you can call us co-founders definitely.
And the
If it
friend is,
exists this day.
sorry, if that, oh, the
If,
company was still there.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, which it is. Just to clarify to the listeners. So is that friend still there with Caravel?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's there with me.
Great, amazing. What, 6 years? Okay, that's something you've pulled off. So Vamsi, now let us go to Keats. So what exactly happened? So Keats didn't come to your mind in this 1 year, 2 months, right? In the journey that you're talking about getting the second and the
Okay,
third
that's a
client.
very interesting piece that we wanted to track on. So one, that product building process.
Hmm.
Again, this was out of intuition and looking at a lot of data
Hmm.
in the market. Consulting companies, it's really hard for you to find people. Find people who can give you work.
Yeah, right,
On
right,
the other side, product business is completely different. People will reach out to you, start using your product, and they pay for your product.
right,
The idea for Keats started off because we were struggling so hard on the table for
right,
getting these projects onto the table.
right.
That's how Keats started.
Hmm.
And I always know for sure that we'll have to solve a real problem in the world, a
Right.
real problem, and we had to be genuine at that time. And we said, okay, there are a lot of people that we're teaching. We go to seminars and things like that. There is a lot of struggle in the market. So we know what we know better is programming and how to teach it. So let's start off Keats. That's how it started.
Got it. So, okay. So Keats' idea came into the picture in the process of finding the second and the third project, because you were also struggling to kind of find these servicing projects, and you thought, okay, why not build a you know, product ourselves and then sell that? That was your idea behind that.
Yeah, yeah, but not exactly during the first and second project phase.
Okay.
It was always there to start off because there was a idea at that time.
Hmm.
Even till today, product companies can grow faster, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because you have the funding route that you can pick up, you have the valuation route that you can pick up
Hmm.
quickly.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Uh, you're in a country like India where the population is huge.
Hmm.
Your customer base in India itself will give you a bigger growth
Hmm.
trajectory. So there are multiple directions in the years 2018. So where we thought, okay, let's build a product
Okay.
and like let's try to this is our happy space, right? Building tech and helping people learn is a happy space for us. So we'll still be in the happy space and making some money. That was the exact idea that we had when we started off Keats. It was
Okay.
not exactly during that one two. It was always there. Not from day one, I would say.
Right.
We really wanted to solve a fundamental problem, so that started. But most of the thinking, I can say, happened at that time.
Got it. This was always there. The question was when.
Yeah,
And given that you didn't have any projects, you thought that could be the right time to invest more
perfect.
into it.
Yeah,
Got it. And Keats is basically a platform where you teach something, right?
correct.
So, was it even a no-brainer that, that's what you're going to do, or you had to do a lot of thinking as to what domain you wanted? Because see, you could have might as well done a Ola, Uber, Oyo,
Correct.
whatever, right? But you chose that. So, was that a no-brainer, or did you have to choose?
Again, as I told you that this was our happy space. The
Hmm.
domain that we've been there for almost 5 years. By that time, we started our journey.
Right.
This started in our first year of bachelor's, and that was there of
The teaching thing.
meeting
Right.
people, getting to know a lot about them and things like that. As I told you, that scene where when I was teaching for the first time in my college, I had this little smile. That those smiles I've seen many times when I used to go to seminars and things like that.
Right.
One thing that I realized is people love it when it's more interactive,
Hmm.
and the idea was of Keats is to teach programming in an interactive way, not just in the form of videos, because video learning at that time was a bit of a, I had different thought process towards videos, because videos you'll not be able to practice something.
Right.
Programming is like an art form. You'll have to, let's say, if you learn how to play violin or piano, you'll have to practice it.
Right.
Unless and until you practice it, if you're watching something, you cannot get into that system of getting to learn a lot about it. It's purely interactive,
Right.
right? So Keats is an interactive platform. It is a zero video based teaching thing, so you don't have videos at all.
Nobody's
Instead,
teaching in the form of a video.
no, no teaching in the form of a video. That was the central idea of not to teach anything in the form of a video. We will have videos, but the support probably the teaching. But 95% of the teaching that is done on the platform is interactive. That's what
Interactive.
we've decided to go with.
Got it.
That's where the idea of Keats started. And we were, as I told you, we were already in the space for helping people learn, teach, and things like that. And it became a no-brainer for us. Okay, let's pick this field because we need not stress too much.
Got it. So, Vamsi, I'm going to go back a little bit because I was waiting for us to come and talk about Keats to ask you this question. You said when you did your first seminar, 50, 60 students or people were there, and majority of them weren't paying attention to you. They were doing their own stuff, and only 5, 6 people kind of kept you going till the end. And you said you changed something. First of all, did you succeed in getting all the attention of all the people that day? If you did, uh, what you spoke about a certain change that you did. First 30-20 minutes you were focusing on your slides and PPT and all those things, and then you had to change and then talk, interact, and engage with the crowd. Can you walk us through this process in as much depth as possible? Because at the end of the day, listeners are also trainers. I think this can be a very key thing.
Right. So initially, it was kind of myself to the board, but later on, I saw that the crowd is not interested in my teaching. So I started looking at people's eyes. The first thing that I started doing is
Hmm.
directly giving a one-on-one eye contact in terms of understanding what they think about and are they really liking it. So then I tried gathering all my energy towards focusing on wherever these people are, these folks are in the group. I started focusing on certain areas. My more of my vision is going onto those areas for me to convey it directly to them rather than focusing on something else.
Hmm.
That interactive. You have to connect with the audience in order to get your teaching right. So that's where I tried changing my trajectory of teaching. And after teaching for a very long time, probably 6-7 months straight for almost a good number of hours, what I understood is I had a lot of questions and the questionnaire from the same group, right? I started compiling them and keeping them ready and teaching them immediately to them
Hmm.
rather than waiting, making myself wait for the questions to come. I started my teaching to go into that zone where the questionnaire started to form a kind of lesson for them. Whatever questions that they are asking me, I try to compile it as a proper thing and then trying to deliver it out to them.
Like a
So
bunch of
that's where,
FAQs.
yeah, bunch of FAQs. That's where people started because it's the same group, right? It's the
Right.
same demographic that you're teaching to.
Right.
So it becomes much easier for you to focus on how they think, what's their attitude, what's their style of presenting things, or how do they talk about all sorts of additional cross-functional domains that they wanted to talk about. Some people will come and says, "Hey, Vamsi, can I do games with it? Hey, Vamsi, can I do internet applications with it? Can I do sort of finance applications with it? All sorts of stuff." So for a fact that what they're interested in.
Right.
If you are teaching kids, the first thing that you'll have to tell them is, "Hey, let's do some games."
Right.
They'll be interested. If
Right.
you teach them something that is, let me tell you how to deploy a cloud application in an AWS EC2 container. If I say that,
Right.
they'll be like, what the hell are you teaching? I don't know anything about what you're talking.
Right.
But let's say if I say games to them, that might be of great interest. But if I talk about games with a person
Hmm.
today,
Hmm.
who is probably in his career, a good point in career, they'll not be interested. I'll have to talk about AWS and EC2, right?
Right.
So it's more about their demographic, point number one, and the other thing is more on to trying to understand how they are interacting and responding to you as a person, as an individual. So yeah,
Got it.
that would be my thing.
So, Vamsi, you were interested in computer science in 8th standard itself.
Yeah.
So, but were you also interested to be a computer science teacher, or you wanted to be a software developer? I'll tell you why I'm asking you this question.
Okay, so there are two things. One, there is computer science.
Hmm.
The other one is programming, and
Hmm.
the other one is coding.
Hmm.
Right? I tell you the difference between programming and coding.
Hmm.
Programming includes coding. Programming is a more
Hmm.
elaborate space.
Okay.
In programming, there are actually three parts.
Hmm.
One, you think,
Hmm.
you translate that thinking into an algorithm,
Hmm.
and then you pick up a programming language to code something.
Hmm.
Right? So coding is just that final piece
Hmm.
in terms of getting something shipped.
Hmm.
Programming is a broader space.
Hmm.
I love the thinking space, the thinking and the algorithm space. I
Hmm.
love it a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I was particularly interested in programming,
Hmm.
not the coding part.
Coding. Hmm.
Coding part later came up.
Okay.
When I was starting to learn languages, I code about 12 programming languages today. But yeah, uh, the coding part came later.
Hmm.
I'm trying to understand the fascinating things inside the programming languages.
Hmm.
That's where the coding part came into picture. But programming was always there. I love that thinking to come into. Let's say you give me a problem XYZ. How do I
Hmm.
solve it? I keep thinking in my head,
Hmm.
and that's where this started. And then probably after a while, I started moving into picking up languages
Hmm.
like C, C++, Java, Python,
Hmm.
Clojure, Rust. We started doing all this stuff, and but yeah, computer science came in later when I started my bachelor's.
Hmm.
So it was a bit different, right?
Got it. Okay, the reason I asked you this question is this, right? But thank you so much for. I didn't know this whole programming thing had so much. Now, what I understand is thinking and translating the thought into algorithm is like ideation of a certain concept or creating something out of nothing. Coding is like an execution of that. It's like,
Exactly.
bringing some laborers and then putting together bricks on somebody else's plan. That's how I imagine when you were telling.
No,
Now,
no, that's a very very interesting way of putting it. It's actually that, but probably some people might backlash on it. But that's the
no,
real
I
fact.
mean, come on. No disrespect when I say laborers, right? I mean, both of them are doing some building work, but it's different things. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was
you got it. You nailed it from that perspective.
very interesting. Now, the reason I asked you this question is this. Now, you said you volunteered to give this seminar. And in the first seminar, you said 50, 60 people were there. I'm sure that also was by choice only. You didn't force anybody to come. They came by
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
In that, you have majority of them not paying attention to you.
right.
Two things could have happened. You did one thing, but most probably people would have been like, hey, I am trying to come and share something. You're not even paying attention. I'm going to go. You don't deserve it. That is probably going to be the attitude. But why did you take it upon yourself as a challenge to figure out a way to teach these people?
Uh, okay, so when I started going to these conferences,
Hmm.
the one thing that I love about these conferences that happen in Bangalore, sometimes they happen in Goa and things like that. I think RubyConf happens in Goa.
Hmm.
Uh, is sharing. Robert Wording is the creator of this programming language called Erlang.
Netlang.
Erlang,
Erlang. Okay, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Erlang, and that's the language that powers your WhatsApp. Just to give you some
Mm,
context,
mm, 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 mm.
the entire WhatsApp is built upon this language called Erlang.
Okay.
Right? Robert Wording is the creator of Erlang.
Okay.
And when I started speaking with Robert Wording when he came down to Bangalore,
Hmm.
we spoke for almost 45 minutes straight. As a creator, he is like the man for me to even think of. Meeting himself was a great thing in my life.
Hmm.
When I'm trying to approach him, there were my heartbeat just rose, very high. But when I went to him, when I spoke about him, I was really surprised the kind of person he is. Is
Okay.
a very nice heart. He spoke with me for almost 40 minutes, uh, and we had shared some crazy stuff in terms of the language, what he's trying to do, what I am trying to do. The most interesting part was we were having this discussion before going to lunch. Both of us skipped the lunch,
Okay.
and the conference again started.
Okay.
He need not be that person. He would be somewhere in his 60s or 70s.
That time
He
itself.
need not do that. Yeah, he need not do that.
Right.
But he stood up for me that he actually we were standing. While talking, we were standing and not even sitting. So he was standing there talking to me for about 40 minutes straight. We have skipped the lunch. We again rushed to the lunch to get some plates, and we had lunch. So that kind of drove me into the idea of okay, sharing with people is really interesting, and once you resonate with the thought, let's say if you say something to me, I say something to you, and when you start a beautiful conversation, that's where a lot of learning happens, as a
Hmm.
person or even from a life perspective. When you really make a really good great conversation, I'll say the concept of neuroplasticity,
Right.
where
Right.
your brain tries to change a bit. Probably some deep conversations in your life will definitely do that. Pondering upon a thought will do that, this concept of neuroplasticity. But those nice conversations will trigger certain things in your head that make you a better person.
Awesome, man. I think, I mean, if there is a moment where I'd like to kind of stop and share this kind of, broadcast a message, I think it's this. Because I've also taught in a very small capacity during some times. And I've had this experience where, students are not listening to you. It's a certain trigger. So, but what I understand from talking to you is that look, if a student is not listening to you, it is the teacher's duty to kind of do something to bring the attention
Correct.
and try and look at it from a positive way and then do it. I think this is great. And you said you solved this and you kind of made this happen. If not all 100%, at least you might have increased your percentage from those six people to a little more people. What you said is you started making eye contact, you started understanding their demographic and coming prepared for their questions and expecting the kind of questions that they might ask, and then solving their problems and their curiosities and stuff like that.
And
Great.
one good thing that I've learned after a lot of teaching is be a fun person when you're a teacher.
Ha. Right.
I started cracking jokes in middle
Jokes.
because
Right.
the demographic that I was with, and this needs to be a bit grounded or close to whatever they are talking on in their everyday life.
Right.
So kind of put some fun in your teaching. Don't be serious, very serious. That'll kind of change the entire crowd.
The
Some
mood.
crowd, whoever is not looking at you, will start looking at you.
Right.
So you need to be a fun teacher.
Did you prepare for these jokes as well, or these are just
So
whatever
these
you
are
random
random,
stuff,
based upon the kind
everyday
of
stuff?
everyday stuff and whatever they do. You'll have certain groups in the audience, right,
Ha ha
where
ha.
they try to do all sorts of nonsense at that time.
Right.
So taking those into as examples,
Ha.
then trying to crack some joke, and this entire group now starts to listen to you. That's a very interesting thing that later happened, and now folks are also interested in you, saying that okay, this guy is aligned with our thinking. He is also our
Ha
kind
ha
of a
ha
guy.
ha ha
So
ha.
let's listen to him. So
Got it. But you know what? As a teacher, you're trying to do something. I'm okay with this. Sorry, I'm gonna like digress a little bit for 2 minutes. Same thing. Go to today's stand-up comedy. I see a lot of reels. Okay, there were stand-up comedians who'd come prepared with topics and crack jokes. But today, if you see, have you noticed this pattern? I don't know if they come prepared to crack jokes or they have a list of
right,
topics. They
right,
will use their audience only and roast them only and make a show out of it, man.
right.
This is for some reason. See, as a teacher, it's okay for you to take somebody and make fun. But as a
Right,
comedian, your profession is that you're supposed
right,
to do something apart from the people who are coming to watch your show roast now. So yeah, that's
right.
what I was thinking. But anyway, sorry about that to just go off the track. But what you said just triggered that particular thought for me.
Yeah, see, these are probably in the entire 2.5 hours space that I'm teaching.
Ha ha.
These jokes will be somewhere around 4 to 5, not more than that. At times, you go
Of
up
course, there's a balance. Yes, yes, yes,
and
yes,
then you kind of
yes,
come down.
yes. Otherwise, obviously, your whole
Yeah,
thing
it
will
will
be thrown
completely,
off. Yeah,
yeah, it will be a
it's
disaster.
a fine balance
Yeah.
basically. Got it. So now let's get back to Keats. So we spoke about Keats when you had the thought very much before you started your developing company, Caravel. But then since it things all fell into place. So when officially did you start off Keats, and like how was the journey like?
Um, we started off, I think, in the early 2018s. I don't remember the
2018.
exact.
Okay.
Yeah, 2018. We launched it to our audience in the, yeah, I think Q3 of 2018. Yeah, Q3 of 2018. That's where we kind of launched it.
Okay.
But there were alpha users coming in the Q2 of 2018. So we started early. Jan 2018 is the point where we started off.
Okay.
Jan Feb
So,
2018.
Vamsi, I'm sorry. I've only heard about beta users or beta testing. Alpha users are the main people, is it? Once it's fully done.
Alpha users are internal close friends. Beta
Oh,
users
okay.
are
Got it.
people whom you give it out. So
Ah, okay.
when friends used to visit us, we used to give our laptop to them. Ask them to log in, and these are very very close people.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
Beta
Oh,
users are somebody you don't know,
okay.
and then there is a public release where you give it out to entire service.
Oh, this is the first time officially I'm hearing somebody use alpha users. Okay, great. So that is the thing, is it? Or is it your own
Yeah, it
personal
is a
thing?
thing. It
It's
is
a
a thing.
thing. Alpha user. Okay, fine. Cool.
Alpha, beta, and public.
Okay. Alpha testing, beta testing, and public.
Yeah.
Alpha users, alpha testing. Got it.
You
So,
call them alpha users. It's fine to call them alpha users.
alpha
Whoever are
users.
there, yeah, whoever are there in the close quarters.
Okay, fine. So when you started Keats, you were also having projects coming in. So didn't you have a lot of projects that you could do Keats, or did you have to really consciously balance the effort that went in between the projects that you took up and the Keats thing?
That was hard. I had to balance it.
Okay.
It was extremely hard. That's one decision that I probably would. I'll not say regret,
Hmm.
but I would have done it better
Hmm.
because one way we wanted funds
Hmm.
to make sure that we run the show,
Hmm.
and the other half is where we wanted to do something that we're passionate about,
Hmm.
and also trying to create a product.
Okay.
Of course, the goal was to create a business out of it,
Hmm.
but it was hard.
Hmm.
Uh, and the way we approach this problem is in two ways. One is I used to work the morning half for Caravel, and evening half I used to work for Keats.
Okay.
So morning 9 to 12, 1 until 1, I used to focus on the consulting projects.
Hmm.
The second half is where I used to work on this project, because that took me almost 2.5 months to figure out that okay, something is not good, and let me break my day into two halves, where the first half I work for
Okay.
this
Hmm.
company and the second half I work for this. And the important decision that we took is the non-sharing of resources. No sharing of resources, meaning we isolated teams. We
You are
isolated the
dedicated
main team.
people for Keats
Yeah,
and dedicated people for your
it,
consulting projects.
the only person who shared is me,
Okay.
where I had to think of that and this as well. That's how I managed to pull it off.
So your service company funded the Keats.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Now let's say we'll go to the point where you've completed building Keats and it's ready for the public. It did go public, right? At some point, it
Yes.
went
Yeah.
public.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, before that, I just want to touch upon one more topic because you told when you spoke about Keats, you said you made a decision. 95% of it is going to be interactive. Only 5% is going to be video based teaching and stuff like that. You totally
Yeah.
didn't want that. Now, when you talk about interactive, it involves a lot of psychology, right? You
Mm-hmm.
need to know the users, how they respond, and stuff like that. It's not simply, whatever is on textbook, you're not putting it out there. I'm
Correct.
sure you have your own value proposition there for it to be a USP.
Right.
Now, how much, I mean, did you really have to like kind of go deep into psychology as well, or that just came naturally and you figured it out easily? What is the
No, no.
process
We
behind that?
hired a psychology consultant as well for Keats,
Oh, interesting.
in
Okay.
order to help us. It was more on to understanding the patterns of data and
Ah,
how they interact, and what's the time that somebody can focus on, because interactive where you get bored, right?
right.
After certain time, videos you can just put it in front of your screen and start viewing it. After some time, you might pause it and come back and things like that. We did that intentionally for Keats for one reason: programming needs to be interactive, so that it's like I can't teach you a guitar just by looking at a video. You need to
Right.
have a guitar in your hand.
Right.
That was the idea. So making it interactive, we want them to come, code, sit, and type, or
Hmm.
click at least.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So not just watching the video.
Hmm. Great.
And we hired a psychology consultant, and she helped us out in understanding certain metrics. How students respond and things like that. And we were able to incorporate a few of her ideas in the product, and also trying to understand from the data that we have collected, and sharing that data back with the consultant, saying that okay, this is the assumption that we made, and this is the data that we have. Can we correlate these assumptions and data? That's something that we have done.
Wow. So, to all the people who are building something to do with teaching, especially in this mode, it's not just the content. So, it is also, a psychologist is also part of the team, is what I learned. Because I just asked you casually. I just thought you might have read something and did something. But, okay. And this really made an impact. The.
uh, I'd say it did, definitely, for sure, because the learning was faster when you have somebody from a expertise,
Right.
an expert being coming onto the table and trying to help you out.
Hmm.
Definitely, whatever experiments that you wanted to run for 4 months, 5 months, and then getting the data and correlating with it, you happen to make that in 4 days. As simple as that. So I always believe in experts, because they kind of pace it up,
Right.
move things faster for you.
Right.
And that's how it helped us a lot in pacing. We would have definitely, if you ask me a question like, if this psychology is not there on the table, will
Yeah.
what would
Yeah.
have happened?
Yeah.
Probably it would have taken us 4 or 5 months to figure it out ourselves.
Ha.
But this helped us to pace it up faster. Within 10-15 days, we were able to put that into our system, and trying to understand different behavioral patterns. Size of the lesson is pretty important in interactive courses. So what's the
Hmm.
attention span, what's the size of the courses that we'll have to create? We started creating what, a 40-minute interactive courses, which is like a shittiest thing that somebody can do.
Long
We
time.
have broken that into multiple halves. Our each slot was almost 11, 12-ish minutes,
Ha.
not more than that. Some hard topics came down to 7 minutes also.
Okay.
So multiple things that we did around it. So it helped us a lot in terms of understanding the human behavioral patterns, and
Right.
especially in, again, she also gave us some insights on the demographic. How does the demographic behave and things like that. So experts always pace your things.
And this psychology expert was specifically working with the learning community, is it?
No, no, no. She was with a university.
Okay,
It was a
got it,
central university in Hyderabad. So she was with the university at that time, and she was a professor there. She helped us.
got it. Okay,
So it
Vamsi.
becomes easier as a teacher for her to also identify. She's a psychology professor, teacher.
Oh, okay,
So
okay, okay. Got it, got it, got it.
kind
Yeah,
of
it's
it will be
a
good.
right mix. Got it.
Yeah.
Very sweet mix. Sweet spot to have somebody's expertise in. So, Vamsi, now let's say you're built. Now you need to make the sales, bring in the money, and all those things, which is the most difficult thing I think any entrepreneur deals with. Product is there,
Right.
everything is there, making money. So, what happened? Did you how did you sell it? What were your learnings?
Okay, so two things with respect of Keats. One thing is that we thought it's easy for us to get going,
Hmm.
uh, but it became really hard for us. We After 3 months, we had almost 9,000 users on the platform.
Okay, Vamsi, sorry. One quick clarification. So, Keats is a platform for people to learn programming,
Correct.
which includes all the three things that you said. Is it thinking, translating it into
Yeah, yeah,
algorithm,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and the
So
languages
we
also,
teach
coding
them. We
also?
used to teach them Python, C, C++, Java, HTML. All those courses are there. Just like if you look at Udemy,
Huh.
you have all these. You learn Java,
Hmm,
learn
hmm,
Python,
hmm,
and all
hmm.
that stuff in the form of videos. Instead, here you'll have it as interactive, bite-sized lessons.
Got it. Cool.
As simple as that.
Cool. Sorry,
Uh,
you were talking about having 9,000 students.
yeah, we initially launched it. I think mid of 2018 we launched it.
Okay.
Um, when we launched it, people loved the platform. I can say for sure because people used to do these interactive. We have been tracking a lot of metrics at that time.
Hmm.
People used to do these interactive courses at 2 a.m. in the morning, 1 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
1 a.m. in the morning, there were times where we had 300 students.
Wow. Okay.
So we really know that people are interested. But the biggest challenge comes with the monetary angle to it, right?
Monitoring. Yeah.
Because now that it's interactive, again, one of the biggest challenges that we had at that time is managing our infrastructure,
Right.
our cloud infrastructure, because
Right.
we end up in paying a lot for cloud infrastructure. So then we started figuring out various options on how do we get that cloud infrastructure built down, the costing down. So we did a lot of experiments there. We saved almost 30 40,000. That came of our tech expertise in building systems, in
Hmm.
crafting systems for
Hmm.
other people.
Hmm.
So we did those experiments, and it was kind of not easy. There are a lot of free users, but almost close to, I'd say, not even in two digits, right? Somewhere around 40 50 were paid users. You
Okay.
have tens and thousands of 10,000 people as free
Free
users.
users.
On the other side, you have people, 50 60 people paying for your product. So that was the kind of situation we are in. And then B2C in India is very hard, talking about which, directly when you reach out to people, especially the student market. The initial thing was to make it free. That will definitely help you a lot. But if you want somebody to pay for your courses, it's really, really, really hard.
Okay.
uh, and that too, probably we would have thought of it as a Duolingo. That kind of put us in a very bad spot
Okay.
because Duolingo had a easy growth in terms of free users,
Okay.
and they also took a hard time in figuring out what their paid users look like. But we always used to compare ourselves with Duolingo. That became a problem because that's a application catering to the US markets and the Western markets.
Right.
Ours is an Indian market, right?
Right.
So it kind of is we kind of tried to compare ourselves to Duolingo, and we thought, okay, this will be the simple game, but that didn't happen at all. For one reason, a lot of people are free, but a lot of people don't want to pay,
Right.
and still there is a fear. Most of the people at that time, even today I guess so, had this fear of what is the value that I get.
Right.
you know uh, and even if somebody finishes up an entire course,
Right.
our courses used to start at 1,500 rupees to 3,000 rupees online. The immediate question somebody asks me is the what is the value that I get. We
Hmm.
used to go to colleges. Again, we used to visit a lot of colleges that invited us for our Python lectures and classes to evangelize Keats as a
Right.
product,
Right.
make them sign up and introduce that to them. That became an easier thing for us because we had connects. um, but the immediate question, once You are done with it. You have this 1,500 rupee, 3,000 rupee uh, models priced for you. You can pick this up. The immediate question that comes to you is, what is the value that I get?
Okay.
Learning as a value is, I would say, very much underrated. So uh, even today, I guess that is kind of happening quite often. Nobody appreciates learning, even if you're learning something. So it's really hard for the student, from ages probably 18 to 22 in the Indian ecosystem. They don't spend money for learning,
Okay.
and this probably will come when you have a sales team in house. It cannot be a product led growth. People do not, in India, do not come to you saying that, hey, do you have a product, are you helping me learn, I'll pay for you. That's not the kind of ecosystem that we are in. There
Right.
needs to be a sales division that drives this every single day thing,
Right.
right? And that kind of also is, when you establish a sales market, you know that, right?
Yeah.
You kind of, I don't want to speak about it, but you kind of go and sometimes into a non-ethical zone in order to sell a product, which is kind of, I'll not say it's bad, but you tell 100 things to them that this is possible, that is possible, for them to make a sale. For the sales guy to make a sale, you tell them 100 things. So we were like, we always envisioned this as a product-led thing, growing thing. But again, we are trying to build up a sales team. Probably hundreds and hundreds of sales team members of the sales team should come in. Otherwise, kids would have been some sort of a white hat junior. If we
Exactly.
would have
Yeah.
taken that route, it would have definitely become a white hat junior. White hat junior has other learning class courses and things like that, but definitely it would have become that way.
Hmm.
But probably for a different demographic. That is, white hat junior is for a kids
Kids.
demographic.
Hmm.
But this would have been in this space.
Hmm.
And most of the people started contacting us for placement, because the end goal
Hmm.
for a bachelor student, first year student, is to get into a job, get a placement.
Hmm.
And that placement module was kind of missing, and we started to build that. But yeah, to answer your question, it was pretty hard for us to convert all these users in the initial days,
Hmm.
but the free users were growing crazily. Every single day we are adding 500, 600, 700 users.
Right.
But paid users, we had to make, we also did that.
Hmm.
Again, we'll get back to that conversation later.
Okay.
But yeah, to answer your question, this was more of it.
Got it. So, um, and then, so okay, you said what could have been, right? You spoke about salespeople and all those things. You definitely thought about it, and you made a conscious decision to make it product-led growth and all those things. And one of your methods were visiting institutions and then
Correct.
pitching, and then you did that. You said whatever numbers you said, all these numbers are despite that, is it? Despite you visiting colleges and everything.
No, it was there. Sometimes, the colleges used to help other colleges, where we had posters being sent. We had, because see, the demographic, everybody are in colleges.
Okay.
So that's the reason we were reaching out to colleges.
Okay.
And, there used to be, we never ran marketing ads on Facebook or digital media, any sort of stuff, because we
Okay.
really wanted to test the waters in the initial days. What is the traction? Probably, we would have done it if we would have crossed 50,000 students. But
You
we
mean
were
to
at,
say free users?
yeah,
Free
we
itself,
thought it
if you would
would,
have crossed 50,000, then you might
we
have
would have
gone.
done digital marketing and things like that. That was the goal.
Okay, so what was the highest it went in terms of free users also?
So we went up to 35,000 people.
Okay, and the paid users at that point was
I think roughly around in hundreds, you'll have them in hundreds, not even more than that.
more, not even more than that, less than 1%.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what was the problem? Like, did you diagnose the problem?
Problem was extremely simple. Value creation, and value creation. Even if you are able to do it,
Hmm.
that the value creation needs to be in a way people understand that, okay, this is gonna help me in something else.
Okay.
If I would have put it in this way, if we would have said 30,000 rupees for this bundle, you get a placement interview, probably it would have been a different direction.
Ah.
Okay, so the final value creation, what does a let's talk about a bunch of demographics here, just to understand what I'm talking when I use the word value creation.
Right.
Let's say if you are selling a product for kids,
Okay.
right, an education product for kids, the value creation there is being a ranker in the school.
Mm-hmm.
If you are creating a science product,
Mm-hmm.
getting high scores every single day,
Mm-hmm.
because that gives the dad a high feel, right?
Correct.
Or the
Correct.
mom a high feel on, okay, my kid is doing really well, he's a ranker.
Hmm.
That's the final thing, if you are
Hmm.
creating
The
a
outcome.
product. Yeah, the outcome, I would say. And then you have the other demographic of plus one, plus two.
Hmm. Hmm.
There, your creation becomes your IIT JEE rank
IITJ. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
NEET ranks or things like that.
Yes.
So increase your rank by 1,000, 2,000, and that.
Right.
And when it comes to this demographic, the undergraduate demographic, you have to tell them a placement,
Placement. Jobs.
jobs, right? The
Right.
final value creation.
Right.
So this is something that we realized, after working on it, and we were about to do that placement thing also as part of kids. But what we understood is that this value creation is something that the other person needs to understand. And if you want to make them understand that this is the value creation that you're doing, you'll have to do some sales calls.
Hmm.
You cannot do that by just putting a banner on your webpage.
Okay.
You need to help them understand. Either you go to them, talk to them, give a seminar, identify a bunch of folks and get your sales done,
Right.
or the other way is calling them. Two
Right.
things.
Right.
So this is at a very broad level. The problem is, when you have an education product, there needs to. I think I'll add one more thing also. One, uh, this concept of giving them the final goal
Hmm.
needs to be direct in the sense whoever is paying for that. The
Hmm.
second way is you connect with them and do the sales thing. Or the third thing is where somebody comes in and says, hey, I have used XYZ platform and I was able to score this much. That referral also works.
Right.
So your friend coming to you and saying that, hey, I have cracked this exam because I've been using this platform.
Right.
Definitely you're gonna pay for it.
Right.
So any of these three things should happen from a B2C perspective.
Okay. You didn't pursue in that direction.
We did. The reason why we kind of had to stop working on Keats is during pandemic.
Hmm.
2020 is when the pandemic
Right.
roughly got hit.
Right.
uh, and during pandemic we were visiting a lot of colleges.
Okay.
And again, the backstory for this is we understood that, okay, hey, the kid is not directly interested, so we'll have to build a sales team, which we don't have a plan of building a sales team yet. We are not against the concept of setting up a sales team, but hey, let's not do it because we don't have funds on the plate, or we kind of don't want to get into that direction very soon. So let's try to evangelize by going to visiting institutions. So we started doing that. We went and visited a lot of institutions. We gave them free logins, free user logins to everyone. People started playing around with the platform. People started learning Python. People started learning a lot of things. And then we came back and saw our metrics. The metrics were very low in terms of the paid user, auto paid user conversion, even though we went there because we thought, okay, letting them know at this point in time and creating a really good intuition in them will help us make sales, but that didn't happen. And then the other way happened where we spoke to the college
Mm-hmm.
management.
Mm-hmm.
We said, hey, we have a product, we'll bundle it for you. For all the students you'll be getting this bundle, are you interested?
Mm.
That's the kind of pitch that we've put forth.
So from here, you from B2C, you're trying to go to B2B2C.
B to B2C.
Right.
It is still B2C, but it's B2B2C, right? We went there and we said, hey, we have this in place, so are you interested? Then the answer started to be positive.
Okay.
People were like, okay, give us n logins, but this time we wanted logins for our teachers as well, because
Okay.
teachers need to approve. It's a fund that is coming from the management.
Hmm.
We will do whatever it takes internally, but this is a fund that directly comes from the management.
Hmm.
And share us a few logins, we will let you know, we will work on it,
Hmm.
and we'll get back to you.
Hmm.
But there were a few agreements that already went into picture, and because of the pandemic, we had to take them off. And they also requested for us to come for every 3 months, once in a quarter. If you can send a trainer, helping them understand Keats in a better way,
Hmm.
it will help us a lot in terms of helping our folks understand, because some people might be new, and give us metrics as well, give us dashboards per college,
Okay.
who is performing really well. We had to again create a dashboard module for college and things like that.
Hmm.
That's a different thing. But this kind of work, going to colleges, visiting the management, and helping them explain. But again, this is a long process. It will take like 1 2 months, 3 months for them to sign off. But there are positive things coming up onto the table. And then at that time when we wanted to pursue this in full scale, the pandemic hit.
Pandemic hit. Right.
And we had nobody is at even at colleges, and
Right.
everybody were going into a mode where okay, we'll have to protect ourselves. And
Right.
that's the very reason why we had to shelve down the project. And on the flip side, we had a lot of projects onto the table.
Hmm.
We thought there'll be no projects at all, but a lot of organizations are getting an online platform for themselves.
Right.
Education institutions, a lot of e-com companies, everybody are trying to get into the completely online space. And that's where, on the flip side, where we had huge pipeline that is being built for the consulting projects, and then we had to pursue that because here we had
Yeah, you had to
limited.
also survive and sustain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really hard for us to say. And a lot of colleges started calling us saying that, hey, can we postpone this pandemic hit and things like that.
Hmm.
But we are really interested, can you do this for us? And then we thought, okay, let's it's been a hard journey for us for the last 9 10 months, so let's park it for now and let's revisit that back later as the decision that we took.
So, Vamsi, when you said you peaked at 35,000 free users, right? And then you had hardly 100. So, how much money were you spending on a monthly basis to keep it alive?
That's an interesting question. So I would say close to 4.5 lakhs per month.
Wow. Okay. And you weren't even funded.
No.
Your developer company was
Uh,
funding
so this
this.
is this is the calculation that I did out of the cloud infrastructure, our expenses for visiting colleges,
Of
the
course.
developers that are there on the
Yeah. The
table,
salaries
everything.
you're paying,
Yeah,
everything.
everything.
Right. Right.
Looks roughly. I'll say yeah, roughly in the zone of 4 lakhs is something that you can definitely do.
Okay. And Vamsi, you said you made a mistake by comparing yourself to Duolingo mainly because Duolingo's target market was US and the Western countries and ours is India. Like, what exactly are these differences? What makes them different from us?
Okay, so one comparison. The reason why I brought that up as one comparison is that's a different domain. It's a different domain. This is programming
Domain
language. This
itself
is
is different. Yes, yes, yes.
right. Languages is a fundamental thing. It's primitive.
Correct.
So you what we thought was okay, we are obsessed about, we are tech guys and we are obsessed about something, we are obsessed about something.
Right.
We kind of reject every single thought that comes into our head.
Right.
We were in a state where okay, programming languages are important and everybody needs to learn programming. Till today I'll not say programming languages are not important. Programming languages are still good for everyone. Probably everyone should learn how to program. It helps you a lot in your daily life as well, your thinking and things like that. But at that time the comparison was more, we thought it was apples comparison, but later we realized it's apples oranges comparison. uh, one is one was that we were constantly comparing ourselves to the growth trajectory of the Duolingo users,
Right.
because English as a language is required. If you have to step out of India or if you have to step out of a country,
The
it's
market
important.
is way
So we're
bigger
teaching
when
you.
compared to this.
Correct. That's a fundamental thing. You have to live,
Yes.
and that's the reason you'll have to speak a language.
Yes.
Here it was, this is a career thing, right? The
Right.
language, learning languages is not a fundamental thing.
Right.
It's more onto a career option kind of thing.
Right.
So that's where we probably would have taken a wrong comparison.
Right.
And the growth in other countries is kind of, I'll not say easy, but the kind of techniques or the marketing that they do is kind of bit different.
Right.
Because like if you pick up US as a country or Canada as a country, probably Canada is a bad option because of the language thing. We are a country with almost 140 crore population today,
Right.
right? And the diversity that you have, the kind of language that you me talk, it might not be good enough for another person,
Right.
right? You have a we are in a country where the completely diverse ecosystems.
Right.
From state to state, things change. From sometimes within states, things change.
Right.
The kind of thinking that you have changes, and it's a lot more diverse. But it's not that diverse in the Western world. So most of the people talk English. It's a common language for them.
Hmm.
Probably they'll ask, which what place are you from? You'd have to ask, but we need not ask here, right? If you are from
Correct.
Bangalore, it's easy for me to understand you're from Bangalore. You talk with me for 5 minutes, I'll be able to tell you. So that is the kind of wrong comparison that we did when we are comparing applications in the Western world versus applications in the Indian world. You'll have to be more local here. For example, just to give you some context around the way an academy have pulled it off for their UPSC and things like that,
Hmm.
they went completely local. The language of teaching was Hindi, right? We never had Hindi on Keats. But the later
Hmm.
thought was, okay, should we do this? Should we do this other language kind of a communication on Keats?
Hmm.
But again, as I told you, the reason was more on to what to do at that time, and it was a roughly 1 year, 9 month journey,
Hmm.
not even close to 2 years,
Hmm.
and pandemic hit. And
Hmm.
that's the reason we have shelled it. But the very reason of trying to compare the Western world versus India is very bad, if you ask me.
Hmm.
So you'll have to be more local in terms of your content if you're building an application,
Got it.
and you'll also have to remember that when you talked about psychology, the thing that comes to my mind every single time is understanding that demographic psychology within the state. So you will always have to have, when you're trying to build something in India, probably I'll say have a map on your, if you're building a countrywide application, have a map on your table as an entrepreneur, trying to identify, okay, what is a spot for AP, what is a spot for Karnataka, what's a spot for Maharashtra,
Hmm.
Delhi, Haryana, UP. So try figuring out where you wanted to take this product, and try checking for the local stuff, the local things there in that specific place if you're building a countrywide application, and that gives you a good growth. And our country is a population with 140 crores, and the median age of the country is 28 right now.
Right.
Meaning half the population is above 28, half the population is below 28. Right? So you have 70 crores above 28, 70 crore below 28. So that gives you another dimension of so much young population.
Yeah.
Now, if you drill it down to 21 to 28, how many people would have been there, and what demographic these states go into? Now, if you keep narrowing down the data that you have and then place them on your map, and then if you try to sell it, if I'm trying to sell this product to a North Indian guy, hate to call it a North Indian guy, but still in the northern India of northern part of India, uh, you'll have to use Hindi as a primary language, because nobody, if not everybody will know the language that you wanted them to know. So again, dialect also matters. If
Right.
you cannot even say, okay, this is this Hindi and this is that Hindi.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So what I would recommend is going into that zone when it comes to building applications in India, and that was the very bad mistake that we started to do, comparing the US markets, US applications, and Indian applications.
Okay, so Vamsi, if I have to understand right, to summarize what you said, if you would have probably had this insight, are you trying to say that you must have built Keats in different languages for different parts of India? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah,
Okay, fine.
and keeping it more local.
Okay.
Probably the one idea that we
So, what do you mean
would
when
have,
you say keeping it more local? Beyond language, something you mean to say, is it?
yeah, uh, the faces. Probably the one
Ha,
mistake that we would have done is completely ditching the video based
ha,
learning.
relatability or connection was missing.
Correct, relatability was missing. Probably, it's fine to go with the idea of interactive learning.
Hmm.
Probably, I told you that 95% was interactive learning and 5% was video learning. We would have made it at least 85-15.
Okay.
85% is interactive learning and 15% video learning
Hmm.
content, video content.
Hmm.
And all this video content that we are, if you would have done it in a local way,
Hmm.
where the more local guys come in and talk about things, it
Hmm.
would have been much, much easier for us.
Hmm. Got it.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, cool. Okay, so one is we can say that Keats doesn't have a relatability or connection. Now that what it does is it opens you up to a bigger market, right? So,
Yeah.
but you stuck to India, is it? You never went outside of India?
That's a very interesting question. So we were about to launch. So that's what we've decided. Okay, this is not working in India.
Huh.
Probably it is working to a very small extent.
Hmm.
Let's try to pitch into the other markets.
Hmm.
We wanted to build a mobile application for that, sir,
Okay.
because we were only running on a web
Web
application.
app. Okay. Hmm.
That is kind of a completely. That would have been a game changer if you would have built a mobile application first instead of a web
Hmm.
application. The biggest mistake that we have done is going with a web application first. We would have went with a mobile application first in order to crack the market and have more downloads.
Would you follow this strategy across all educational topics? Anybody into B2C education, would you say first go with mobile app and not web app?
Controversial thing, but yes.
Okay. Why controversial?
So some people might say, see, mobile application comes in handy because this device is there with you for what, almost
Almost,
the
yeah.
entire day, entire day.
And there
So
are
it
more cell phones than laptops, right, in India, if you see.
exactly, exactly. So this is with you more time, and it's a no-brainer for you to think of mobile applications being the first stakeholders.
Right.
But some people, they might want cloud labs and things like that, which is hard for you to
Ha.
type on mobile phones.
Mobile phones, right.
Uh, and some people might not have the infrastructure to launch in the App Store, because App Store and Google Store, if you have to launch it, it takes about a week's time for you to get published onto App Store, even your app is ready,
Hmm.
and you are completely compliant with all the terms that the Apple guys tell you.
Hmm.
Right? The same goes with Play Store also.
Hmm.
So the infrastructure that you need to create and the compliances that you'll have to meet in order to produce yourself into the App Store and the Play Store
Hmm.
is not easy.
Hmm.
Right? It requires some kind of developer knowledge, some kind of additional effort that you need to put in order to build the entire app and things like that. So definitely, it's a very uh, important thought that everybody who is getting into the education space to start off with mobile and then probably
Go to web
have
app.
a web application.
Okay. So you're now looking to launch it with the in the Western market, in the US and all those things.
So yeah, that actually, I when we actually discussed about this, I thought, okay, I'll announce it during the podcast itself.
Okay.
So
Great.
the one important decision that we took 3 weeks back
Okay.
is how can we revive Keats,
Right.
because again, the name Keats came from John Keats,
Right.
as a great English poet.
Hmm.
I think of beauty is joy forever, as something that he have written as a piece of line in his phrases.
Hmm.
So for us, when I look at that thing of programming, it used to give me a lot of hype.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, artists, we always used to feel like artists, as being programmers, we always used to feel as artists, and that is he's the greatest man, and he lived for a very short time on the planet. And I felt, okay, let me use John Keats' name and name it in his thing. Uh, Later, yeah, probably the name might change now because of multiple reasons. But we are relaunching Keats in the next few months.
Great.
But this time it doesn't have any commercial angle to it.
Oh.
It's going to be 100% free of cost,
Okay.
100% open source, and no idea of ever having a monetary angle to it. It will be free forever.
So I've read this line of late in the social media. I mean, I think since a long time, if something is free, then you're the product. The user is the product. Can I
So
say that?
maybe, but yeah, it is going to be completely free. Probably early Q2 will be, sorry, Q1 of 2022.
2024.
2020, no, no, not Q1 of 2024. Within, like, if you're, I'm actually going to the financial Qs, Q1s, Q2s. That's the reason I'm getting confused.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, Q2 of 2023, you will have the entire product revived and you'll have it on the web
For free.
for free.
Okay. Can I probe you? Like, I mean, what are you gonna take away from being free?
Nothing. See, we are making some money from our consulting businesses and things like that. We are in a good shape, and we are launching a few other products as well.
Okay.
Uh, we don't have a idea right now to. No, we are comfortable. We are not in a
Oh,
pretty bad shape. We are
okay.
comfortable in terms of our run rates and things like that. So now, it's just whatever we have done it in the past,
You just
pulling
want to
that
let
out,
it
and
there. Okay, fine.
yeah,
You
and
don't
it's
mind
already
not making money from it, is it?
yeah, I don't. Probably some thought comes in later on if somebody keeps probing me for a very long time. I'll look at it. But I can say that most of it will still remain free. If somebody comes in and says, "Hey, there is a lot of opportunity to it," let me be honest. Everybody has that greed, right, towards making something. So if
Right.
somebody probes me saying that, okay, hey, there is a lot of value to it, can you do this? Still, to put it in a very honest way, I'll put 95% of the application, probably 5% will be from a monetary perspective. But
Huh.
I wish that it remains 100% free forever. But yeah, if some angle comes in, I'll still keep the 95% and 5% probably from the monitors.
Interesting.
Yeah, we are
So
all probabilistic scientists, so we always try to keep that zone open. That's the reason.
okay. So, okay, guys, here it's just, I think those who are listening, those who are wondering, yeah, this is just Vamsi doing Vamsi things. So, there's nothing for you to take away from going free, whatever you've built. You might have to figure out why exactly he might be doing it, but he says, he can do it, so he's doing it. That's about it. He's worked on it, he's built it, he wants to, he wants it to see the market basically. But Vamsi, interesting thing, at least for me, you said learning products are slightly underrated and people are hesitant to pay money, right? I don't know, I might be ignorantly asking you this question, but Udemy is still in the market. I'm not even sure if they're profitable or not, but they don't have a sales team.
Right.
They only sell excessively by excessive marketing, like digital marketing, right? Emails
100%.
and sale and all those things. So you never tried going in that route for Keats?
Again, see, we were ignorant in the initial days,
Okay.
and later we have seen other platforms and how they're doing it and things
Ha
like
ha ha
that. At
ha.
that time, we were young as well in terms of
Okay. Okay.
thinking and the mindset.
Ha ha.
Uh, Udemy till today has 95% off on every of their courses.
Exactly. Yeah.
There are a bunch of marketing gimmicks that they try to play around. We would have also done that, but yeah, pure marketing would have helped us make better sales. And a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people have trust in videos
Mm.
because they always can refer back, right? And
Right.
refer
Okay.
back.
Huh.
And my notion also changed a bit. I told you 85-15, but at that time that was the thought process. I told initially we thought 95% of the videos, 95% of the content is
Right.
interactive.
Right.
After that, after doing a bunch of experiments, we came down to a zone. Okay, hey, let's do 15-85. Let's still stick to it. Now if you ask me, I'll make it 60-40 or 70-30. My
Mm.
thing for videos have gone away, above, but it still has to be interactive. Probably, a person sitting and coding there. It shouldn't be kind of somebody teaching on the blackboard.
Hmm, 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 hmm.
So the confidence that people have in them when they're trying to purchase a course online from a place like Udemy and things like that is the ability for them to go and revisit the video later at any point in their lifetime. Every course is a lifetime course. Right? Once you pay for a course in Udemy, it's there for you forever.
Right.
So that gives them a lot of confidence and resources that Udemy gives you. You have files
Correct.
downloads and things like that
Correct.
that,
Correct. Correct.
that
Correct.
come.
There's something to
So
take away
that,
for
yeah,
people.
that's something that people are gonna trust from a PLG perspective, and then pay for it.
Got it,
And
Vamsi.
again, Udemy, I don't know to what extent they'll definitely get a lot of money from this programming domain. And Udemy is a marketplace, right? You have all sorts of courses, all sorts of courses. You don't have this programming. You have cooking, you have programming, you have finance, you have office management, project management, every such thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a bigger marketplace in terms of, and their marketing might be different for different domains.
Got it, Vamsi. So, Vamsi, final topic that I'd like to touch upon, something that we spoke when we met you. I mean, on the phone before the podcast, you told about how you scaled up your company from 3 to 41. And it's not just about scaling up, right? I mean, there are a lot of things to it. Like, for example, you touched upon how you felt the need for a people's team, like somebody to manage the people in your company and to address a lot of things and to kind of streamline and set things right. This might be for your software development company, but building a team is a team for any entrepreneur, right? So
Right.
for people listening, for people those who are in that stage of growing from 3 to 40 or 50, what is it that you would like to share? What exactly did you did and how did it impact? What difference has it made?
Right. I think first four people, you'll not have any complaints because you get to speak with them on phone directly or somebody sitting beside you. You speak to them, communicate with them directly, and get your things done.
Right.
Even 5-6, it's gonna be the same way.
Hmm.
Probably you will easily make the conversations.
Hmm.
So it's very simple that the reason why we added more people onto the team is we have a lot of work to be shared. I was doing all sorts of activities. I was doing my finance Finance in the sense the company finance, I'm taking care of it. I'm doing the management. I'm doing the sales. I'm doing the coding work at night. I'm doing everything except cleaning my office. I'm doing everything, right?
Okay.
So at least I had that privilege of hiring somebody to do that for me. But except doing that, I'm doing every single thing, and there was a lot of work on my plate, and I had to share it. So we started hiring developers because that was the first initial step that we took, hiring developers. And then this developers grew. As these guys were growing somewhere around 9 and 10,
Hmm.
we hit a bottleneck saying that, okay, I'll have to go through. So recruitment in the software space is extremely hard.
Okay.
The conversion rate is, I'd say, 100 is to 5.
You interview 100 people, you only take 5 people, is it?
5 people, something like that.
Okay.
And sometimes it comes to a very low number, sometimes two also. So out of 1,000 people that we have gone through in the past 8 9 months, not like 1.5 years, not eight, just 8 9 months, we did filter somewhere close to 1,200, and we were only able to hire roughly close to 18 or 16.
Oh my God. Okay.
Right? So there was a lot to do on the talent acquisition pipeline.
Okay.
So that's where I wanted somebody to take care of that.
Okay.
So now I hired a person onto my ops role, where the initial idea was to post on this wide variety of platforms. You have
Right. Right.
platforms like LinkedIn, and then Angel.co, and then Internshala. You have
Cut
Cutshot.
short.
So all these
Yeah.
platforms.
Yeah.
So we had to post this onto these platforms and then get a lot of resumes. That was again shared with another person. And then as the developers grew, one thing that I had in my mind is not being able to communicate with the way I used to communicate with another developer. You know,
Hmm.
there are some people still till today I haven't seen those faces. 2 3 days back they are hired in the company. I
Okay.
haven't met with them, so
Okay.
I'll make sure I meet with them in the next 15 days after their hire date. But I haven't met with them, so
Okay.
there needs to be a process in terms of
Onboarding.
getting to onboarding them, getting to talk to them, talk about the company they're in, and trust me on this, that find people that who can stay with you for a longer time.
Hmm.
I don't believe in the concept of in year also. I'd say if you are building a company, I've been so persistent for about 5 years, standing solo, trying to draw all my energies at one spot and trying to build the organization. Every single time when there is a hire, you should see whether that person is sticking with you for at least 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
I put it 5 years for them. It might be scary sometimes to the other person. I
Right.
put it 5 years.
Right.
It will be really, really scary for some person saying that, okay, why is this person saying 5 years? But genuinely, I want somebody to stick with me for 5 years. Company is not something that you can take over or take it up the ladder within like 2 3 years. That's not gonna happen. Some piece of work that you're doing will have to do it. You have to do it for 10 years or so, 10, 12 years or so. You need to spend a decade on it. So that's the reason, if you put in a lot of effort in terms of getting the right set of people to build it for you, and work, especially when it comes to bootstrapped startups, it cannot be 9 to 5,
Right.
right? You will have to start your day. It's okay to start your day at 11,
Right.
but probably you'll have to work 11 until 11 p.m. in the
Right.
night,
Right.
11 a.m. in the morning to 11 p.m. So there are times where there are some times where my developers, my team members, they sit for longer until 3 a.m.
Wow.
I feel bad for them to be on calls, but they're happy. They don't have any complaints, saying that, okay, I'm enjoying my work, I'm doing whatever it takes. So while this is growing, uh, I need to make sure that each and every individual needs to be personally connected. If there is any complaint from somebody
Hmm.
saying that, hey, I'm not able to, we get a lot of projects, consulting projects onto the table, and sometimes they might be bored about the project. Somebody needs to go in on a regular basis and talk to them of what issues are you facing and things like that. That made me increase, when I'm increasing my team size, I made sure that there is an effective communication being done with the team member.
Right.
I hate to use the word employee. That's the reason I'm using the word team member, because it's like a teams play, right? It's like playing football. We need to give the right pass to the other member to hit a goal.
Right.
So that's where we try to kind of. There were hard times in the initial days, but this stopped when we started creating our people team. The people team now has just two people in it. One a senior guy who is into placements and things like that. He came in and is helping us out in every way possible to communicate.
Hmm.
He touch bases with every single individual on a weekly basis. Every single week, 4 times a week, he'll touch base with them, and I get to if there is any
Four
issues,
times a month, you mean?
4 times a month. Yeah. So 4 times a month, if there is any issue that the big team member raises, we'll go there, figure it out, sort it out, and things like that. There are some people, we might forget. We don't have an HR team. We have a people team.
People team, right?
HR team does some set of activities. People team is being, I created it for my own reasons.
Got it.
We call him the chief of staff on our people team. I created it to make sure that everybody is individually connected
Right.
and the real genuine concerns are being sorted at the earliest.
Right.
Now that we don't have a HR team, this creates another problem where we don't have a track. This is somebody who is there with us for a longer period of time. Uh, we might want to give them an appraisal or hike.
Right.
So now our people team is trying to get that to me right now, saying that okay, this person have already spent 1 year time with us, 6 months time with us, an intern have spent 6 months time with us. Is there? So we have created ladders and immediately getting them sorted, resolved, talk to them, get it resolved, make them happy at times and things like that. So and it's really important who can completely understand what you're trying to build. In the same way, enjoy the kind of work that you do in your, the daily work that you do. Unless and until that happens, nobody is gonna, stay with you for a longer time. And it's important to uh, also look at firing as an option. Sometimes, when you are in a bootstrapped ecosystem,
Hmm.
equally hire is important, fire is also important. If
Okay.
somebody is not resonating with you, somebody is not loving the work, and there is a lot of burn, right? Every single month there is
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
burn that you're trying to do. So we can sometimes kind then go back. Our people team does it again, where okay, this is not working out for us. Let's come on to a middle ground. What do we do? And then say, okay, let's part ways and things like that. But from right from 3 to 41, whatever journey that we have gone through,
Hmm.
I think I'll put it in. I'll conclude in 5 things. One, trying to establish a direct communication. There needs to be one person who communicates with everyone,
Okay.
at least trying to know their thinking, what's there in their head,
Right.
and communicate it to the leadership. That's one. And the second thing is don't hire somebody who does not resonate your thought process or,
Right.
or the kind of work that you're trying to do.
Right.
It shouldn't be for the sake of joining the organization. Sometimes we will have a lot of work, but we don't have people.
Hmm.
Sometimes we'll have a lot of people not have work.
Right.
But imagine a situation where if somebody is passionate, deeply passionate about staying with you, you can do something or the
Correct.
other,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So if even if we are in a state where we have a lot of work and no people, we put in tremendous amount of effort to get the right person,
Got it.
right? And the third one is trying to help them learn about the cross-functional domain, because that's where the youth is currently pretty much interested in.
Hmm.
Let's say if somebody is in our back-end team, he wants to learn front-end.
Hmm.
Giving them that path of exploration, saying that okay, hey, can you do this? They'll be super excited, super pumped. That's the other thing. And definitely fourth point is something from the monetary perspective, making sure that the industry is now super crazily heated up because of the recession and things like that. But it's really important to protect their interests and making sure they are paid right time, because that's from the beginning of the company. One thing that I've struggled so hard is to get their payments out on the last days of the month.
Got it.
We start looking at things from 29th to 31st, everything which should be sorted out.
Got it.
If it's February 28th, it needs to be sorted out. So something like that has been genuinely there. We've been doing that because that came out of a different notion of, we have seen our parents,
Right.
everybody used to push somebody into a government job
Right.
because of the job safety,
Right.
and getting yourself paid in time
Fine.
because the government does it.
Yeah.
But the other way around on the industry in the private sector, now it changed. There is a flip where the government is not able to pay properly, and then the private sectors are
Yeah.
really nice to people. But we wanted. I've seen my parents grow that way, and they've, my relatives talking about government jobs and things like that. I really wanted to give them a trust factor.
Hmm.
So that's something that we have done it for every single individual, right from 3 to 40. We keep telling this: your positions will be moved after 3 months. If it's an intern, your positions will be immediately, talked about in 6 months' time. So something that sorts are done every single time, and at least once a month or twice a month, the CEO of the organization has to go in there, give them a crazy talk that gives them a high, and come back. Right? So That's also needs to be there.
Like a pep talk. Got it.
Yeah, like a pep talk.
How long does that range?
Uh, which one?
The pep talk. How long does it last?
I'll keep it very short. People are bored. This age group that
Right.
we are in right now, they get bored. So you'll have to keep it short, straight. Get a different character from the history. Probably last week I've talked about Napoleon.
Okay.
So different character from the history. Give them a right shot, right thing, and talk about the project that we have done. Close it. Not more than
Interesting.
20 minutes.
Interesting. Interesting. So, Vamsi, while you spoke about your team and the people's team, you told that you look at people for them to stay for at least 5 years. So, I mean, that's fine. But how do you actually figure it out during the interview? Or
Uh,
how do you ensure that happens? Is it like you try your
okay,
best and then
company is
it's
gonna. I'm extremely fortunate to have people like them with
okay?
me right now.
Hmm,
There are people who are stuck with me for 3 years.
hmm,
I'll say one, four people for the last 3 years.
hmm.
Uh, then three people for the last 4 years.
Okay.
So I have already people in the system, that way.
Great. Great. The core
I'm
team,
fortunate to
so to
have
say.
them. Yeah, the core team is still there with me, and it's pure ideation, and it's pure. You'll be able to understand at least if somebody is able to give you a commitment for 2 years.
Hmm.
My ask is higher. It's 5 years.
Right.
But if somebody is there for you to saying that, okay, hey, I'll stick with you for 2 years, it's fine. I know for sure that I'll be able to make them my man. So my people.
Got
So
it.
it's more onto that. So if somebody is giving you that trust for 2 years, it's good to go.
But you don't get them to sign and stuff like that.
No,
Nothing like that.
nothing like that.
Okay.
It's pure trust.
Okay. And I was about to ask this question, but you yourself brought the topic out. I just wanted to ask you everywhere today in social media, you say the news about laying off, right? This company has laid off so many thousands of people. So, is you also feel that heat? Is it also coming to your level? And is it
No,
true?
see,
Is it real? What is it?
the recession is always from the global markets, the global economy.
Right.
Recession is driven by the global economy.
Right.
So why all these companies, whoever are laying off, are public companies and in the markets.
Hmm.
Google, Facebook,
Hmm.
Microsoft,
Hmm.
Amazon,
Hmm.
all these folks are in the public markets,
Right.
and it's important for them to protect certain interests
Hmm.
or in the interest of the investor,
Got it.
right? And that's the reason they kind of lay off.
Okay.
I'll not say there is zero heat on us. There is some heat on us,
Okay.
but not to the extent of laying off
Laying off people.
people in the space right now. Probably we slow down our hiring process right now.
Okay.
We haven't even done a hiring froze. We have slowed down our hiring process
Okay.
just to be sure that okay, we'll have a bunch of things in our pipeline.
Okay.
And also, probably and recession only will be for a maximum of 1.5 years time. It will not be there for a very long time.
Okay.
Uh, Again, it will once the market takes a positive curve, better fresh hires, lot of money coming into the zone, everything gets funded more and more.
Right.
So it's a big casino that we are playing in right now.
Hmm.
So it's all about that market. How does the market shape out and things like that. So I'll not say zero heat, some heat, which reduced our hiring.
Got it, Vamsi. And just a couple of closing questions. Uh, of what percentage of your projects are education based or knowledge based?
So we've done most of the projects in the education space.
Okay.
Mostly, I'd say 80% probably.
Okay.
8 in 10 projects are. I'd say 70%. Yes,
70%.
yeah,
Okay.
70% of the projects are in education space.
Okay.
We've been doing that
Is that a
for.
conscious decision?
Yes, there
Okay.
is a concept decision because it's easy to stick with one domain and start scaling quicker
Okay.
because the context remains same when you're talking to another person.
Right.
So that contextual setting, especially for consulting organizations, bringing up a niche,
Right.
picking up a niche, and then working on it becomes easier. Then probably you might lose some money because of the no's that you're telling to other people.
Hmm.
But that constant decision making on just trying to stick to a specific niche will help us a lot
Got
in
it.
scaling in any industry.
Got it. So your company is a software development company, but in the
Right.
education niche.
Yeah.
Okay, you take up
We do
all
have 100
projects.
projects in the finance right now,
Okay,
but one to hardly compared to whatever amount of projects that we have on the edtech space.
okay, cool. You don't have any ideas of expanding on the finance domain, is it?
Probably, see, at this point in time, we are comfortable with the education domain,
Okay.
but we'll keep looking. So we call ourselves a product development studio,
Hmm.
meaning we build products for entrepreneurs and we scale products for entrepreneurs. So now that we have grown a bit bigger, it's more on to there are certain established players that we are with and things like that.
Hmm.
But we'll definitely get into other domains as well as the team grows. We have just 40 people. Probably if I have to go into other domains, I'll have more people. I'll have to need to have more people in the system. So we will definitely do that.
Got it. One final closing question. So, to anybody listening, who's in the B2C space, who's looking to, launch an app, launch some education web app or anything, what is it that you'd like to share from your Keats experience today?
Right. Keep it extremely lightweight. Don't over program, over code, overthink, because assumptions are different, completely different, and the way market responds to you is completely different. So keep it simple, stick to an idea, stick with it for a longer period of time, and launch it fast, right? And ship other set of important features faster. This will be the only thing that I'll say for any single product in the market, not just edtech, but keeping it. We overthink a lot in terms of building products.
Right,
What is the fundamental problem? If take that fundamental problem that is actually needed to be solved. I'll not build another Uber or Uber because it's already a solved problem,
right,
right? Something that probably if some there are. I'll just give you an example of. So let's say if you are catering to the finance market,
right,
there are a lot of finance people in the market probably trying to clean up their Excel sheets on a daily basis.
right.
A tool for them to cut down the time of their Excel cleaning from 8 hours to 8 minutes. If you are trying to do that, keep it simple, solve the problem, try to layer on top of it, ship it faster.
Right.
So that's the direction we'll have to go rather than saying that, okay, this guy is a finance guy. I'll make him help do every single thing that he's trying to do in his life.
Hmm.
Probably, I'll pay his TDSs, I'll pay his this, that, and stuff like that. So it's not going into everything in that specific number. Even though you're sticking to the finance applications, finance domain, don't try to solve everything. Solve something simple in first place and probably expand on top of it, right? So that will help people a lot in terms of expansions.
Okay,
And this is something that I've tweeted recently,
okay,
uh, that don't build what your customer want.
okay.
What your Build something that all what your customers want. So,
Right, right, right.
so something that you should always remember while building is prioritizing certain set of important things. If let's say if I have 10 customers, if one customer comes in and says, hey, can you build this one? If three customers comes in and says, hey, can you build this one? Then my priority will be going to the second feature.
Right.
So that's something that should keep constantly doing around the space.
Okay. And you said that 70% of your clients are education based. So, are there any trends that you see today where education in India B2C is going towards?
I think the large players have been slowing a bit.
Yeah.
This is a good news. Some people definitely for sure. The large players are slowing down, and catering to a niche will start picking up crazily in India.
For example,
Uh, Probably I can pick up this UPSC space.
huh?
Probably somebody who is in this specific region
Hmm.
might want to crack so and so XYZ exams. Somebody can become an expert in IPS or IRS or something else.
Huh?
So trying to focus on that specific niche in the initial days, at least, when you start off something, go aggressively in that space. Uh, Capture a very small market. Probably will be also good with 100, 500 students.
Hmm.
Probably paying you something really decent, really really decent,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Trying to create such markets will be more and more in India rather than figuring out a large volume space saying that okay, hey, I'm building an app for 15 crore people in India.
Hmm.
That's not going to work.
Right.
At least to my knowledge, that's not going to work easily because people have done it in the past and have failed miserably. So trying to understand a certain set of probably a well defined pool of 25K
Hmm.
market,
Hmm.
find a 25K market,
Hmm.
try to narrow it. Probably you'll be able to get if you're able to get 1,000 people from that market,
Hmm.
making good revenues, probably making you can still make 10 crore even if you're charging 1 lakh per student. A simple math, right?
Right.
So getting into that space will help you a lot in terms of understanding things and stuff like that.
Okay, so basically, you're telling to all the educators out there, if they're looking to kind of get into the business, look at a narrow, focused area where you can penetrate it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
could be for individual teachers, or it could be who want to go out on social media and make some content or
Very
apps.
narrow, very narrow. Probably IB schools are there in India right now,
Right.
so probably pick up an IB role. IB for this, narrow it down,
Hmm.
teach them. Probably you create your own premiumness, add premiumness to it.
Got it.
That definitely becomes a successful business.
Cool. Great, Vamsi. I mean, is there anything that you thought I did not ask and you wanted to share? This is the time for that. If at all there
No, I
is.
think we had a great conversation today.
Great.
One thing that I've seen all in my entrepreneurial journey is just staying with it.
Hmm.
Most of the people kind of step back uh, within 2 years, 3 years
Right.
maximum. I've seen people, a lot of my friends, almost 10, 20, 10, 15 people of my friends who came into the entrepreneurial journey. I was the only person now, in the entrepreneurial space. All those folks left,
Okay.
saying that okay, we are tired right now, we'll not be able to do it. But staying with it for a long time, uh, you need to have that audacity and sticking with that problem and trying to be persistent. That can help you a lot, and then it picks up. That the quote of one night success will definitely start turning up because of all the journey that you would have probably had.
Right.
But you'll have to wait for that one night to happen.
Yeah, it's like a similar example to a bamboo thing, right? You just wait,
Yeah,
wait, wait,
yeah,
wait.
yeah,
Suddenly
yeah,
it
yeah,
shoots up. Don't know when. From an entrepreneur's
yeah,
perspective, you don't know when, but when it shoots up, it'll be fast.
yeah, yeah.
I
I'd say anybody who is starting off, 5 years is the time they'll at least have to see. After 5 years, they'll get used to it. Even if something is not taking up,
like,
they'll be used to it and they'll be like, I'll still stick to it.
still stick to it. Right.
But yeah, I had I'm extremely fortunate to start at a very young age,
Okay.
so that it became easier for me to go through all the rough challenges and I don't have any additional responsibilities to be taken care of.
Right.
So that kind of helped me. But somebody who is starting off late also need to stick to it, and probably whoever is there in the space trying to having certain responsibilities and things like that, have kind of a very very small plan B,
Right.
so that it becomes easier only for your revenue, for making sure your other things are sorted out, not kind of going back, but sticking to it for a very long time will really really help.
Got it, Vamsi. Thank you so much. I think we've extended our time slot by about 12 minutes now. Thank you for that.
No
It
problem.
was amazing talking to you. I can go on, but 2 hours is, I think, a
Yeah, yeah,
decent time. We will probably have a part two sometime.
yeah.
I have a lot more questions from whatever we spoke, but it's probably away from the entrepreneurial journey and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you. And we will probably see each other again in part two after some time if you would be interested.
Sure, wonderful. This was fun to do for me. It's been a very long time since I had stayed. I didn't. I thought I'll be exhausted within an hour time, but I was able to do this for a very long time. Thanks a lot for this, and hope
Thank
yeah
you
we
for that.
will definitely do part two.